So I finished watching Candyman today. Gotten in this habit of watching movies on the treadmill because I'm trying to, you know, not be fat. Which is interesting. It has an interesting effect of, because you're walking and you can't really like do a lot with your hands because you're afraid that you're gonna, you know, like fall over or something. You don't want to fall over on the treadmill, especially when you got, I don't run, but I get it going a pretty good clip. But the side effect is I end up paying attention to the movies really a lot more closely than I would like if I was laying in bed watching it, because I'll pull up my cell phone or whatever and do other things when I'm in bed. But my original assessment of that movie still stands. It is a very, very smart, well done, creepy, although it's not the scariest horror movie I've ever seen. Like, if you're looking for like just scare the pants off of you, that movie won't do it. But it is just a really solid, good movie. Conversely, coming off of that, this is gonna sound super negative, but I don't want to be super negative. But I just got done seeing John Wick, which, I mean, there's a stereotype of the action movie with just action and no, like, thought put into it. And I think a lot of times it's undeserved. It is not undeserved for John Wick. John Wick is the quintessential stereotypical action movie. He is barely a character. He hardly has any motivation. Oh look, I'm here. I'm at work. This is it. The theater's like right across the way here. I was just driving around looking for a parking space all that time. Blow your mind. Barely has any motivation. It's just one scene after another of him shooting people, and by the time you get to the end, I'm like, I've forgotten why he's shooting people. Like, he dealt with the original thing he was supposed to deal with, and now he's just shooting the people because they were still characters in the movie, and apparently we can't get out with somebody alive who isn't Keanu Reeves. Yeah, that's what they should have called this movie. Everybody who isn't Keanu dies. Not everybody, but, you know. I wanted to like this. It wasn't a bad movie. I mean, the action scenes were okay. The problem was that there was no thought behind them. It wasn't even... They didn't even try to make the character smart. And I don't mean smart in like a... I don't know, like a lot of times when you have an action hero, like he figures stuff out, you know, he rigs things up to do things, and, you know, the Equalizer was a lot like that. I love the Equalizer with Denzel Washington. His character was great in it. The way he approached things, he almost never used a gun. In this, it's just guns all the time. Just bang, 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 bang. Shoot people in the head, bang. Shoot people in the torso and then shoot them in the head. Like, there's a lot of headshots in this movie. John Wick will put you down permanently. But it just, I wanted something a little bit more out of it. I respect, in a way, like, I feel like the filmmakers sort of looked themselves in the mirror and said, look, we are not the world's greatest storytellers. We do action. Because I've heard that they worked on the Matrix trilogy. Obviously not the Wachowskis, but, you know, they were involved with some of the choreography? The gun dancing. Anyway, yeah. They were involved with some of that, and, you know, so I can respect, like, understanding your limitations and saying, we're going to make as good of a movie as we can within those limitations. I feel like when you do that, though, you need to, and John Wick had humor, but you need to have a little bit more humor. Shoot 'em Up is the perfect example of this, where Shoot 'em Up is just, it's basically, it might as well be John Wick, but they went to enough trouble in Shoot 'em Up to give the guy, like, make him a lot more likable. It's just a fun movie. There's some very fun moments in John Wick. But overall, I could have been more impressed. Candyman, on the other hand, go watch Candyman. It's on Netflix. Great, great movie. Anyway, that was my day for tonight. We'll see what happens afterwards. We're back. Day over. And I am gonna have to fight the urge to, like, talk more about John Wick, because I've been thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it, like, all day long, and sort of parsing stuff in my head. And I want to talk so bad about it, but I don't want to waste all the talking here because I have to do the podcast tomorrow where we talk about John Wick. So I'm not going to talk about John Wick. I'm going to... But I was thinking also today, my wife took our kids to the park today, and we also went earlier in the week, and I went with them. It is interesting as a parent, like, you start out thinking, like, it's natural to want to think that your kid is special, right? And not special in the sort of boring way, like, everyone is special. Like, thinking that my kid is smarter than other kids, or my kid is more outgoing than other kids, or whatever. And we went to the park, and I watched him play with a bunch of other kids. My kid is not that special. And I don't say that in a disparaging way. Like, I'm still amazed at him and the things that he picks up in sort of his development. But it's more of like an amazement of this just sort of raw, untapped potential of childhood. Right? Like, all those kids are really smart. Not smart in the, I mean, you know, there are ways in which they are not smart at all. But childhood is a really amazing time. And it's interesting to sort of see your kid in that context of other kids and be like, yeah, he's just, like, they're all that crazy and energetic and, like, explorative and finding new things out and trying to figure out who they are. And, like, every parent is going through that for the most part. I'm sure somebody out there has a kid that's a genius, you know, and they're like, wow, my kid's blowing me away, oh my gosh. My kid's not like that. My kid's average. And the amazing thing is that average for kids, maybe for just humanity, maybe the average for humanity is something really interesting. I like to believe that if you really dig down into the psyche of the majority of people, there's something there. There's something exciting there. It's not just a platitude to say that everyone is worth something. You know, it sounds like one of those things, just a cliche, but I think there's a good reason it's a cliche. I think that to dismiss other people, there's this, we want to think of ourselves as special and smart and, you know, unique in some way that, you know, we surpass everyone. And you know, you have to delude yourself more or less depending on where you are in the totem pole. I, obviously, quite a bit more, working at Walmart, dropping out of college, all that jazz. But the thing is, everyone is creative. Maybe not everyone, but many, many people are creative and talented and smart and capable of great things. They don't all do great things, but what we're capable of is amazing. So, go home and chew on that for today.